Hi, I'm Rigger. This is Your Right, and we're going to continue with the path of the Avatar. So before we get started, be sure to like it if you like it, share it if you think others would like it, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. Last time, we met some pirates, and we didn't make any new friends, but we did make some new enemies. And, that's something. This time, I have no idea where we're going, but I don't think it's on a jet, but it is called Jet, so we'll find out. We will get started in just a second, so I will see you on the other side. Right, and that was Jet. That was an interesting one. Again, we're keeping it a bit small scale, which is nice. A few little plots and lessons before we, dive back into the world is ending soon sort of plot. This is a simple story, but it's a very interesting topic for a ostensibly children's show to cover. But before we get to it, we'll do plot. So, plot is Momo gets trapped chasing a bug in a snare trap, and they rescue him, and recognizing that they're Fire Nation traps, they have a little argument, and Sokka insists that they walk, saying that up has been too easy to spot, that's why Zuko's always on their tail, so let's try walking. They all hate walking, and they accidentally walk straight into Fire Nation village. Well, not village, a camp. And right as they think they're screwed, saviors come in from nowhere. A, gang of merry men come in, take out the Fire Nation, led by the charming and charismatic Jet, who Katara falls for immediately, which I was talking about, maybe, there's definitely shipping material here last episode. No, there's, she literally has a little fantasy sequence and blushes all the time. But that's alright. So, it's an interesting lesson because, a bit of a lesson on manipulation as well. So, falling in with Jet, they go to their hideout in the trees, and we learn that they're a bunch of basically freedom fighters, a little guerrilla force that basically just makes life as difficult as they can for the Fire Nation, especially since they've been coming through the area a fair bit. Lots of them have dead parents, destroyed homes, etc. So they're very much the Lost Boys, I guess. I said Gang of Merry Men, but I think the Lost Boys is more accurate. And they hang out, they have a fun time, they're really on board with this idea, and then they going on a mission. Sokka is suspicious when they confront an old man and essentially mug him. And even though the man was Fire Nation, Sokka clearly saw he was no threat. He was just an old, innocent, man. Just in Fire Nation colors and from the Fire Nation. But, so he, radically disagrees with their approach. Back at the camp, he raises this issue, and Jet reveals, quote-unquote reveals, that the man had a knife with a poison section in it. He was an assassin. But Sokka insists he did not have the knife, and doesn't believe them. But, again, Jet is slowly turning Katara and Aang sort of onto his side. Then Jet says that he needs Katara and Aang's bending for a small plan, that the Fire Nation is going to set the forest on fire and he needs their water bending to, help put the flames out. So can you go to this reservoir and start pulling water out and help us? Which they, of course, agree to do. Then at night, Sokka is jealous and sees them sneaking out with a cart full of supplies they got from the village. Most of it was blasting gel, so, explosives. So Sokka follows them and they go to the dam, and it's revealed that their plan is actually to blow up the dam, flood the valley. It'll kill the Fire Nation guys, but there is an Earth Kingdom village there that will just be wiped out. And Jet is completely fine with these losses. He takes the extremist approach that there is definitely, the gains outweigh the losses. So that being said, Sokka is captured by them and detained and sent to go for a march, basically, with some guards so that he can't warn Aang and Katara and everyone what's about to happen. Of course, his men are in on it. Some of them aren't too happy with the idea, but they do follow him no matter what, so yeah. And then, at the last moment, Aang and Katara realize what's going to happen, and they have a big fight with Jet as they, their values are challenged, and Jet confronts them so they can't stop him, so they can't get to the dam and stop what's about to happen. And the dam explodes and floods the town and destroys it. And they do some very harsh imagery, and it turns out that Sokka did escape. We saw that he led them back towards those traps so that his guards got captured, and then ran and he disappeared, and we find out he went to the village and convinced them to leave. So even though the destruction happened and Fire Nation were included in that, everyone got out. And having a strong conflict with Jet's morals, they leave. So that's the plot. But yeah, I wanted to talk about extremism. It's a very interesting topic to discuss in basically a kids show. The idea that, your retaliation methods or what you're willing to do can become so extreme and become so immoral almost in the face of what you think is right and your own personal tragedy. And we also had, manipulation. So, Katara was clearly falling for Jet. The show tells us this. And he seems to know that, and he leverages on it. He just speaks nice to her, says, she's so great. He lies and says Sokka came around to her way of thinking. It must be because of what you told him, your great friends and a great, family. And, he's clearly manipulating them, knowing that they trust him. And it's an interesting one, you have that moment where, Katara feels the betrayal, like she's shaken, like he wouldn't do that. There's no way he'd do that, because she has in her mind who he is, this dashing, handsome freedom fighter for good with tragic history. But, she has to confront that that's not how the world works. That, you can't always trust your... though there's a lot of talk of instincts in this episode, and sometimes you should question your instincts and sometimes you should follow them, but you can't just trust the mental image you have of a person. And that even people on the quote-unquote good side, people who have been wronged by the Fire Nation and are trying to fight back, can be pushed way too far and make sacrifices that, you would consider immoral and too, great. And they can also be villains on your side, and it's quite again, it's a serious topic. I sort of mentioned it earlier a couple episodes ago when Iroh was captured, about making the Earthbenders look menacing and almost like the bad guys, but they had a reason to. And you can say these people sort of had a reason to as well. Like, their way of thinking may not be what we would consider generally correct, but you can see where they got driven to this idea, this morality. But yeah, so it's funny because I had, I joked about the shipping thing last episode, but I wasn't super serious. And then, of course, think back to when we were at the village and Sokka got a kiss on the cheek from her name Suki? Yeah, Suki. And now we have another episode where Katara is totally falling for someone, it's her turn. But we flipped the script this time. That it's not just a romance that sort of works out and is fleeting and they move on. It's, you got manipulated here, you got tricked. And there's a few things I really want to point out for this episode, a few notes I took. Again, it's a very short episode, so not as many as usual. One is that the brother-sister teasing is on point as usual. Very much the, you're the leader, why do boys always think you have to be the leader? Or maybe you'd be more confident if you'd ever kissed a girl, and all these sort of, just teasing things, which is funny because he insists he has kissed a girl, and she says, besides Gran, which is the joke, and then I'm like, he's half right, he's been kissed by a girl. He didn't, anyway, but, got pretty good. And also Katara, I don't think you can talk either, so you fell for a dude at first sight too. So, and I really doubt if you'd ever had a kiss either, considering I saw your village. But anyway, moving on. I wanted to say that the imagery was really strong. They did visual shorthand for devastation, which is always a floating toy. If there's a plane crash, the camera will go on in a movie, like the camera will go underwater, and you'll see a doll. Or a house will burn down and you'll find a charred doll. Like, it's always a toy or a photo, but it's usually a toy, because, that means kids died, right? And they do that. They do the full, like, oh my god, the town is destroyed, floating toy, everyone's dead. And I caught on what happened. Like, it's like, he evacuated the town. That makes sense. But still, it's a lot of destruction. And I do like the master stroke of this, the one that the writer should be patting himself on the back for and really works, was the reincorporation of the old man. Sokka showed compassion to this old man. And, spoke his mind. And the old man, still was robbed, and, he didn't stay with the old man. But at the end, when he goes to convince the village, it turns out that the Fire Nation, of course, thought he was a spy. The Earthbenders and the Earth Nation people didn't want to believe him, but the old man vouched for his story, who was Fire Nation. He said, this is, this kid, he knows what he's talking about, trust him, and saved everybody. So that's, and that's bringing around the, value of being a good person, a good Samaritan. Sometimes your kindness will come back in ways that you weren't expecting. And it wasn't a good thing for Sokka. It wasn't like, it came back to benefit him. No, it helped everybody. It helped these people. And, Fire Nation or not, these people survived. They should all be dead. And, we had to leave Jet. We didn't, Jet didn't die or change. We had to just leave him. Like, no, we don't agree. Froze him to a tree and went, yeah, we're leaving. Bye. Like, we're disappointed in you and you need to rethink your life. My last note is also just, I like the reincorporation of the traps too. This show's good with reincorporation. If something shows up, it's probably going to show up twice. So that's good. And Sokka being smart, leading them under the traps. So, lucky it worked out exactly that way, but still, I give points. Sokka has his moments, and I'm always happy to see those moments. Also, he did a neat trick earlier where he put his boomerang into a tree and listened to it because it picked up the vibrations from the ground. And the Lost Boys, as we'll call them, didn't know that trick. So that's a great one. So again, being smart, really cool. Oh, and I like the variety of not just characters I'm just gonna call them the Lost Boys. Like, got the big one, the little one, the sort of strange one. Like, you get the band of characters. And the Jet's disarming swords, I can't remember the name of those things, those hooked swords. But that's cool, just something new and putting them to good use. But yeah, lots of little stories and lots of little lessons in this one, Don't trust sometimes how you feel about someone on first sight before you know them. Perhaps you should, listen to your family sometimes. Perhaps you need to accept when you're wrong. Also, the lessons of extremism and the lessons of compassion for people even on your enemy's side. Lots of things. So I was impressed with that. But I think that's all for now. Until next time, remember that even if we are fighting a war and struggling to survive, that doesn't excuse you letting a girl in the treehouse. Anyway, my name is Rigger. Hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope I did it right.